Link, you have a prepaid call from
Free.
an inmate at the Salinas Valley State Prison, Soledad, California. Your advance pay account has a low balance. To place more funds, please call 1-800-483-8314. This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded. To accept this call, say or dial 5 now. Thank you for using Global Tel Link.
Hello.
Hello, Free. Just to let you know, I think we're going to be low on funds. I'll put some more money on the account tonight, and I did call Anna Caballero. I spoke to Priscilla. They were very favorable about you, and she said she would look more into your case and see what they could do. And also, I spoke to the representative for Anthony Canella, the senator from California. So just wanted to let you know that.
Is Canella a California state senator, one of the two senators for the feds, or is he the state senate?
You know,
Do you understand the question?
Yeah, I do understand the question, and I thought it was state senate, but I don't know for sure. I'm going to look that up right now as we're talking.
Probably, because I don't think he's one of the two that are on the federal. But anyway, I appreciate so much you doing that. And please let me know candidly if I'm calling too much. I realize I've been calling just about every day for a while now, and I'm very mindful of it. So let me know if it gets to be too much. But we're covering so much good ground. If if you can handle it.
Oh yeah, I can handle it. This is what we're called to do as a ministry. So don't worry about that. I'll let you know. I'll speak up very frankly, but I'll put some more money on the account tonight. It's not a problem, and it's always good to hear your voice. And you feel free to talk about whatever you want to talk about.
All right. Well, thank you so much for that. Let me see. I have notes here, and I'm running through the notes to see. I sent you last night another kind of large mailing, 9x13 piece of mail. It'll have some of those rescue documents I mentioned to you.
Okay.
It'll have all that stuff in it. So
yep. And I should also quickly say, and not to interrupt you, but I did redact the affidavit that you sent me. I took out the name and number everywhere that it occurred. I read the thing into YouTube, and I titled it, "The Guards Send a Big Black Dude to Beat Up Lazor." I wanted to be very blunt because people need to realize how bad it is in prison, But thank God that this man signed an affidavit, and, it sounds like he did the right thing.
Well, he did, but they intimidated him. I mean, this is like criminal witness intimidation. Once they came and investigated, okay, this was the guy who I actually got 2 years more added to my parole denial because of that. Because I put in that affidavit, and I also lost 6 months of my life in them taking 6 months to so-called investigate this. So they came and interviewed me, and they interviewed him separately. And he came out of the interview all so shook up, like he was afraid they were going to do some terrible stuff to him retaliatory-wise. So he didn't tell me what he did, but apparently in the investigation interview, apparently he backed out and said, "Oh no, I didn't sign that."
This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
Something to that effect, which is just ridiculous because we spent a lot of time going over all the details of it when we were cellmates and thereafter, and then getting it signed here on this prison yard when I ran into him here, and he initialed every single page. So that's ridiculous. But I understand a lot of people don't have the backbone, and this is a big, tough guy. But a lot of them don't have the backbone to put. I mean, they'll have the backbone a lot more than I do to jump into a very violent fight, but they don't have the backbone to deal with these people and the retaliation that bring to them. So anyway, that's the status of that right now. But Brian Harwood, the other affidavit that's coming to you, and you should have it by tomorrow, I would think at the latest. What happened, I realized after we hung up yesterday, is because I told you the mailroom here sat on this thing for a week and then sent it back to me, and I had to send it back out. That one had all the the redacted signature and all the blue marks on it. You probably haven't got that one yet, even though I sent it before the other one that had no redactions. So that's what happened. That's why we had a little confusion yesterday in talking about that. But in with the 6 documents that are coming in like a large envelope, you'll find also a affidavit from Brian Harwood, as I said, the one who actually attacked me. And what it does is it corroborates Sutton very well, because it's the same guards involved that did it. But that's not the only time. I've been set up that kind of thing so many times in CDC by so many guards. I had hit contracts out of me at least 13 documented times. For nothing except whatever we still don't understand. Either that I'm a litigator or this stuff's coming from the county that trained me in the first place. I never got a rule violation report. It never was attacked by staff in any violent way until right after the DA, the prosecutor, Mark Hames, the prosecutor in my case, deputy DA, sent a memo into CDC. I'm not sure what the date of that memo was, but it was right around that time that I started getting all these abuses. And you get also a 21-page typed affidavit from me that was done about maybe 15 years ago or 12 years ago that explains all of this stuff. So I won't go into a lot more detail here on the phone, but you can post it on the website. It explains all of this stuff from the start, how this all happened, where they started doing the false rule violation reports on me. But also at that time, they made threats of murdering me to my face. They sent guards every day to my cell, about 3 or 4 guards a day, telling me that if I exposed that this cop had attacked me violently and almost broke my neck, almost killed me, that they would make sure I was murdered. And so when that happened, they also said they're going to start this false rule violation report campaign and make sure I never got out of prison for the rest of my life. It would follow me from prison to prison to prison, even if it were decades. I never got in a rule violation prior to that. I was already in prison over a year, and right then, within about 2 weeks of that, I got my first rule violation report that I was found guilty of. Then I got the second one a week or two later, and then from then on, it just continued. Always right before my parole hearing. So, or maybe with one exception to that. Always, or almost always right before my parole hearings. And usually not any in between, like the long spell between hearings. But anyway, getting back to Sutton, because I produced that affidavit, and here I was all gung-ho thinking, wow, here I've got some proof that from a guy that was an eyewitness, he was actually involved in this. He did this affidavit. I thought they were going to go, wow, okay, you proved your point. Instead, they took 6-month break in the hearing. So that's 6 months more of my life that was spent in prison that was unnecessary had it not been for this. And when they came to deny me parole, they've always put me off for the minimum that they can of 3 years since that minimum has existed. And this time they put me off for 5 years as punishment for bringing in that affidavit, which their investigator got, or says that he got Sutton to say, oh, no, I was manipulated to do that. Yeah, I signed it, but whatever. I don't know what they're saying about, why his signature is there, and he's not denying it's his signature. But that's what happened to that, and so it cost me a lot. But now the Harwood affidavit is going to corroborate exactly that. And I keep asking, I think you probably received some of my documents that I've sent to the parole board and maybe to the internal affairs of the parole board, asking, give me a polygraph, give me a voice stress analysis test, which I understand cannot be deceived or beat, which is 100% accurate. Please give me those. I've been asking for years on all this stuff, and they just refuse to, of course. And yet, they sort of compel some prisoners to take polygraph tests about things that are to their disadvantage, and then they use them against them and use them to lock them up in, real deep lockup for 15, 20 years at a time in solitary confinement based on failure of a polygraph test, and yet they refuse to give me one because they know it'll come out in my favor, that all these things have happened that I've claimed.
Yeah, I find it's absolutely incredible. I mean, there must be somebody that is extremely upset with you because you're trying to expose this corruption within the prison system, and they're doing their best to, continue to keep you incarcerated, I guess, as long as they can. But we're gonna believe in miracles. We do believe in miracles, and we're gonna pray for a miracle for you.
Yes, it's so strange. I mean, it's unique to anybody else's case. Absolutely unique. And I had over the type of affidavit of the Sutton affidavit and the Harwood one you get soon, I had over 300 such affidavits. And virtually all of them said we have never, ever seen a guy in all our CDC time that we've done, or in other states that these guys have done prison time, or the federal system they've done prison time in that are now here. They said we've never seen anybody treated this way by staff. It's bewildering. It's a phenomenon that nobody understands.
Wow.
And it's not, and I treat them with respect. I treat them politely. I don't ever get in their face. I don't yell or swear at them like a lot of guys do and never get written up for it all the time. It's a standard thing. And yet I'm just the opposite and all that, and yet I have the paperwork making me look like them, like the things those other guys do that I never do. And so that's how the board sees the image of me. And it's all been just created out of thin air, just made up.
Well,
it's really a phenomenon.
Do you think it plays a role, the fact if you're openly a Christian man, you profess publicly that you are a Christian, and maybe the prison system has gotten so anti-Christian, anti-godly, very pro-homosexual kind of thing that they just hate you because you're a Christian? Do you think they could play a role in that?
There's absolutely a lot to that, and the fact is, in my trial, you'll see when you read the trial transcripts that they denied me having my Bible in the courtroom. Actually, my attorney, who was my worst prosecuting enemy, stipulated to making sure that I couldn't bring it in. So you'll see that, and yeah, I have no doubt that that's happened, but yet, I have to say, there's a lot of really positive Christian stuff happening in the prisons, several prisons I've been at over the last few years, where they do, a lot of staff do respect that, and the staff that are the good ones, I want to say again, there are a lot of really good guards and other free staff, different kind of staff that work here. There are a lot of them. And they're getting better as time goes on. The whole system's actually getting better. Less of the violence, less of the threats, less of the abuse, less of the false rule violation reports. But it's still there, and it only takes one of them, one of those types on a prison yard to stir up a few others and really make a guy's life miserable and especially targeted. But as far as the Christianity, there's a lot of respect for a lot of it. There's a lot of Christian guards, believe it or not, that are favorable toward me. For every one guard that's been real abusive to me, like you saw in the Sutton affidavit, there's always been at least 15 or 20 that have ultimate respect for me. But they can't, because of the nature of the structure of their hierarchy and such, they can't intervene without jeopardizing their own job, their own safety, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
No, I understand what you're saying. I understand what you're saying, Mr. Lazor, and I don't mean to interrupt you, but and I know you're in a very interesting predicament because you're kind of captured by the enemy. But I believe that these people cannot serve two masters, and saying it's their job, it really isn't going to cut it before the Lord. It may cut it now, but when they stand before the Lord, if they say they didn't speak up for you or some of the corruption that they saw, because they will lose their job, I personally, just my opinion, you don't have to comment, but my opinion is it's not going to be a good enough excuse.
Yeah, I agree with you to a point. I think that actually some of these guards will feel like, well, they did do something. They did maybe slightly step up and make sure that, like, for example, when a guard, a sergeant, big sergeant, about 380 pounds, was trying to throw me over an upper story rail on my head, which would have killed me, a guard actually dove in and grabbed him by the chest and jerked him back from the rail and saved my life, actually. And so, some of them probably think, well, that's enough, even though they won't step in and expose the other stuff. The one guy, let's bring up the green wall. Look that up if you're not familiar with it. I won't go into explaining a lot of it. I had a guy named Donald Vodica was a prison guard that started exposing all this stuff, all the abuses, the setups to kill prisoners and all kind of stuff like that. And his family, their lives were threatened, put in jeopardy. They held public hearings on it in the Senate. The California senators held public hearings, and those senators who were leading that, Gloria Romero and Jackie Spear, were both threatened with the death of their children and their spouses and them if they continued it. So they did back off a lot, even though they pretended they didn't. And that green wall...
This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
Disband officially, but there's still a lot of them in here that are of that mentality. And that started right here at this prison I'm in right now when I was here in 1997 or 98. So just so you know, that's how it goes. But now most of those guards that are still of that mentality are at Corcoran State Prison, which I was at a few years ago again, and are at High Desert State Prison. You're talking
about the prison movie, The Green Wall. I have seen that movie, but I'll have to go refresh my memory. Okay, go ahead.
Well, I wasn't even aware they made a movie on it, or at least I didn't recall that. Well, that's what it would have been. It's based on Donald Vodica's exposés and books. So, yeah, that's really important. I didn't know there was one.
Well, maybe I'm remembering something called the Green Mile. I don't know if it's not the same thing as the Green Mile or the Green Wall. Tom Hanks played a prison guard.
Green Wall.
You have 60 seconds remaining.
Is a term I think that's played on the fact that these guys wear green and tan uniforms as opposed to the thin blue line that cops wear on the street.
Okay.
So anyway, that I think is what it's called. David Chip Parham, the one whose life I saved to drowning, the last address I had for him, which is several years old now, The last phone number, I'll give it to you real quick, 517. So he may still be there. He may still have those. He may not. If I could call you again even today sometime, not likely, but if I could, is it okay?
No, not a problem. Not a problem, Mr. Lazor.
Okay. All right.
God bless you, sir.
Not likely, but I may, and we're going to be cut off right about here. Thank you so much, Rudy. You take care.
All right. Our prayers are with you. Take care. God bless.
This is Global Tel-Link. You have a prepaid call from...
Free again?
An inmate at the Salinas Valley State Prison, Soledad, California. This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded. To accept this call, say or dial 5 now. Thank you for using Global Tel-Link.
Well, that was quick. Nobody showed up, so I got a little more time. I may get the whole time, I may not. You got the Parham...
Yep, I got the email and the phone number. No problem.
Very good. There's several things I wanted to bring up. Eventually, I'm going to unintentionally overload you with too much. You're a go-getter like me, and you've got a computer system, and Aaron helps you, I guess, and so you can do a lot more than I can do, but there's still a limit, of course, and I have so much. I probably have at least 40 to 50 or 80 people's full-time work that's piled up on me all the time. It's been buried for years, and it just gets buried more each year, especially when they transfer me again and everything's taken from me.
Well, and let me share with you, it's not an issue of overloading me. What we're tapping into is the larger body of Christ, and there's more and more people waking up to your situation, and I've had a few people that have mentioned your name and kind of appalled that you've been in prison 35 years. So even if I can't do all of the things that need to be done in your case, there are others out there. And, either it will get done or it won't get done, but at least we're making the effort to make people aware of the situation. Is the way that I see it.
From time to time, I have set up a team of my friends, and they've always fallen apart. People just don't want to stick with it, or whatever the reason, or I get locked up and they don't have any way to communicate with me for months, at least not on the phone, and so on and so on. But I would like to see if we can maybe start building a little team where this is something I've been trying to do for years, an organized team where we have maybe, it's like a regular hierarchy of several main people that can kind of coordinate this person that's really good at computers and likes doing them, coordinate that person doing some things like information searches or legal searches I need or this kind of thing, and then this other person that likes to maybe connect with celebrities, contact some of the celebrities I knew on the street, see if we can get them behind this thing. Then this person over here do a different thing that they're good at. You know what I'm saying? They can either write letters or call people or whatever. So I'm hoping we could do that and therefore delegate to a team of different people these different functions that need to be done, or at least it's going to help the chances of my getting out of here sooner.
No, yeah, and I understand. Yeah, I understand what you're saying, and just so that I'm clear on what, because I don't want to overcommit or set an expectation that I cannot personally deliver on. I'm really good at recording prisoners' messages, getting it out to people through YouTube and Facebook, and then other people can join in, write you directly, and that's really my goal, because I got 40 different prisoners that I communicate with. This phone kind of rings quite often, as you can imagine, and so where I excel, and when you think about me, I'm the guy that can get the message out to others. But that's pretty much where my strength is.
Okay, I got you.
Okay.
You've already amazed me at the fact that I'll be talking about something and you pull it up on the computer within a few seconds when we're talking about it. That actually is astounding. So, okay, let me move on to a couple of the things that I had in mind about little projects. These are projects that I think are important to work on. One is the corner project. In other words, we've got the project right now of Susan Eggman and/or Anna Caballero, and that to me is a project. And there's other projects and another thing and another thing. So one of the important projects is the coroner who did my case. I'm not sure if I talked to you about this before. He got busted for falsifying an autopsy report years later. And I had always told my attorney this autopsy report is falsified. I later found 3 references in police reports to a whole different autopsy that nobody has ever said this other autopsy report exists, but it's mentioned 3 times by a different coroner in the police reports that were buried away from me for years. Then this same coroner, Angelo Lazor, who's no longer alive, got busted committing perjury before the Ninth Circuit panel of judges about that case, Galbraith's case, where he falsified the evidence. So I would like to have a coroner project that we start like ringing the phone off the hooks of the coroner's office and the medical board as to why they didn't do anything about this regarding my case when I've been in here all these years, and I've said from day one, all the stuff was falsified by that very coroner. Now, when other coroners and other, police got caught doing this kind of criminal activity, falsifying stuff to convict people wrongfully, like in L.A. and Orange County, they set up a system where those guys could go back to court, go back into the courtroom before a judge, and if that had a bearing on whether they were innocent or guilty, they'd reverse that conviction and give them a new trial or just cut them loose. And so why didn't that happen to me? So this is the kind of pressure and dust that I want raised up on this issue as a project. So that gives you some sense of it. Now, what I can do, it'll take me a while to get copies of them. I have a fairly thick file. It might be a couple hundred pages on Ozoa and all the corruption he did in my case, and I will send that to you, but it's going to take a while for me to get a copy. Let me move on to another project. It could be a kind of a simple project for people, somebody, if we can get a little hierarchy of a teammate, to contact my high school class. Because now, just a few, only 2 or 3 people from my high school class started writing letters to Eric Weaver about this shocks to conscience stuff. And, I'd be bewildered if I was in their shoes and one of my fellow classmates had been in prison and claimed his innocence. The first time I knew about it, like you, I would have jumped on it and tried to help them and even devoted a lot of my life to trying to help get them out. Anybody I knew. And yet, it just has blown my mind that for at least 20 years now, or 25 years, all my classmates have known about this, and not one of them has stepped up to do that, except a few that have written letters or written on my Facebook. Wow, this is just astounding, and we know that you're not capable of this kind of further and that sort of thing. So I'd like to have set up another project there for somebody to get the ball rolling to all those people in general in my class. Maybe we'll get 50%, maybe we'll get 20% of people riled up and interested in this situation.
Can you tell us again what class you graduated from in the high school?
I was in the class of 1972, South Lyon High School, SLSH. South Lyon, wait a minute. SLSH? Well, anyway, South Lyon High School, 1972. South Lyon, Michigan. That's South, the word South and Lyon, Lyon. I have it's like probably 12 or 13 or 14 years old.
I got another prisoner, believe it or not, been in prison for 15 years, and it's critical because I haven't talked to him in over a month. I've got to go.
Go ahead.
Okay, call me back tonight. Call me back tonight. Okay.